Hi, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? We got Donna and Maria and Shannon. How are you, Shannon? Are you in pain?
Yes, yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what's going on. You can tell.
Well, as a chronic neck pain sufferer, I recognize the signs.
The emotion that I feel most right now really is drained. And I was looking up drains and a feeling of losing the energy, time, or resources that you formerly had often refers to feeling your energy has been spent. And basil is the oil. And it says the symptoms of adrenal exhaustion help identify the main moods that are improved with basil, primarily fatigue, low energy. So the emotions addressed, anxious, overwhelmed, drained, exhausted. So yeah, and it's like my upper back, like that's where the pain is. So all I do at night is like I gotta just kind of rub. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But like I said, I'm always grateful, but physically, emotionally, I'm just feeling kind of drained. But I am grateful. I think one of the reasons that I'm feeling drained, the 2.5 months that I've been in Georgia, my husband has still been working at Amtrak because he hasn't found a job here. So I've been kind of having to do everything with my two little ones and then adding homeschooling and taking people to dance. And so it's been very draining. But he did get a job offer and he will be starting a week from Monday. So he'll be
Wow.
moving here this weekend. It came right on time because I'm now starting to experience some chronic physical pain. So it's been like emotional and mental for these 2.5 months. And now mainly in my back start. And honestly, I have a call in my doctor because there's like, there's like there's something going on here and there. I don't know if some ball inside of because I used to have like a growth outside, then we drained it a couple times, but now I think it went inside. And so I think that also for some reason, sometimes it explodes up, it gets bigger, gets smaller. So then when that happens, that kind of makes the pain like much worse. So I have a call into my doctor to get that checked out.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're
Yeah,
taking care of yourself.
for sure.
So basil, huh? So you're gonna are you gonna put it on your
Adrenal.
kidneys?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a good call. I did that a couple weeks ago and that really helped with that exhausted feeling.
But thank you for the tools as far as like how am I feeling? And then looking it up in the book. And it's been super helpful and I've been able to empower other people when they're expressing their feelings.
So interesting. I have a book that I just started. Um, well, there's two books that I just started. What's the name of it? I was really into my fantasy novel and my fantasy novel ended. So I'm like, well, I should read the things that I bought. Like you've got this queue of your self-help books that you've been avoiding. So I finally picked it up and it's amazing.
Mhm.
It's called Living Your Yoga. And then inside, I don't know if this happens to you guys. I'm a bit of a book freak, where I like buy books a lot. So inside Living Your Yoga, she recommended like where she got her inspiration to write her book. Why won't it let me click? Come on, tell me the name. The Road Less Traveled by Dr. Scott Peck. He's a psychiatrist, but it was written in like the 70s. But the way he speaks is so plain. that he was talking about that a lot of our pain is because we weren't taught as children to do the suffering things first. Like you do your homework first and then you get to watch TV, or you eat, your dinner and your vegetables first, and then you can have your cake. Like the generation of people that like do all of the pleasurable things first and then procrastinate the rest of the day. It was born of, he describes this like pattern that is so obvious, it's ridiculous. He's like, well, doesn't matter if it comes from a poor home or a rich home. If the children are, they're not, so no one pays attention to them, and then there's no discipline and there's no love, they're still going to end up in jail. Like, like he says it so plain. He's like, doesn't matter if it came from a poor or rich home. If you don't pay attention to your kids and teach them how to do the important things first, even if it involves suffering, like do your workout in the morning and get your writing done in the morning, and then you can go do the fun thing. Like he's like, it's the only decent way to live. Get the important things done. But if you don't teach a child that before, like they get older and then they become entitled, and that's it. But as a person that I feel that I've got a bit of that in me, we're very rebellious and like no discipline. There's hope, because I'm 35, and this morning I'm like, I read that and I go, I better get dressed right away, brush my teeth and put some shoes on. So anyway, that was something important I just wanted to say. But it sounds like there's like a backpack of that you've had on, like you're talking about the back pain from and the neck going up in here, you're carrying everybody, and now you've got, some help is on the way. So I'm really excited that you'll be able to take the backpack off. So
can I share something really quick?
Of course.
What I started to do is change what I said to myself. Instead of saying, oh, I have to do this, I started saying, I get to do this. And so that really switched something in my brain where, yay, I get to do this, instead of I have to do this. And one of the ladies in Hesperia, she had skin cancer, start using the frankincense. And she says she had a ball in back of her ear as big as a walnut. Oh. And she said, I was putting the frankincense on my wrist, on my left wrist. And how did that walnut that I had for 16 years, she said, how did it disappear? And I said, well, the oils know what to do. But, that was an experience. That was Shannon's mom that experienced that, which I like to share, because you never know how the oils are going to help.
Yeah, it's very true. So interesting. I know Dina's here and she uses all her oils like that on her wrist. I don't know if you want to share for a sec.
So yeah, I like to use my oils on the crown of my head, under my tongue, and then on my wrists. So yeah. And I came on when Shannon was sharing about the basil, and basil's so amazing for cortisol, helping our bodies regulate the cortisol. But they also came out with Tulsi, which does it even better. So you can pair like Tulsi and clary sage together, or basil and clary sage together, and it's a great way to help regulate your cortisol levels really nicely. And you could do that internally, or you can do it, on the wrists. I like to put it on the crown of the head. I was just at the conference in Utah, and one of the girls had a headache and a whole lot of like nasal congestion. And I was like, oh, here, let's just put a couple drops of digestan on top of your head and let's see what happens. And like literally 5 minutes later, she's like, oh my gosh, I can breathe out of my left nostril. I haven't been able to do that in years. So, you know, sometimes it's just changing up the oils and, you know, finding what works best for your body, because we're all different.
Thank you for that. I just put Tulsi on the top of my head.
Tulsi's amazing. Great
Yeah,
for the kidneys.
I'm gonna read Tulsi for us because now I'm interested.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh my goodness. QRS. Tulsi, spiritual integration. Tulsi or holy basil is a sacred and highly valued herb in India. Oh, so is basil and Tulsi, they're both in the basil family then?
Yeah.
It is considered indispensable as nothing compares with its majestic qualities. It has a host of beneficial uses, including being a powerful adaptogen for many body systems, acting to balance and restore areas that have become weakened or blocked. It enhances prana or life force energy and restores energetic flow for healing body, mind, and spirit. How interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my friend Letty yesterday, she's been using the Meta Power, and I've noticed some feedback from other people that like it's working on balancing hormonal stuff. Like for me, I've had some breakouts that, you know, haven't had a breakout in a long time. And she's had some hormonal migraine stuff come up that had been resolved a few years ago with the oils. So her and I we're going to troubleshoot today about oils. So I'll be sure to tell her about the Tulsi.
Yeah, I did want to share a little bit too about another fact about the basil. So most of us choose something for pain. We have a ton of different pain oils that we can use, right? We've got lemongrass, Siberian fir, copaiba, basil. You have frankincense, turmeric. You know, we have all these different ways to help soothe the body. And I'll tell you, in my family, basil has been one of the oils that curbs pain for us so quickly. I've recovered from surgery with basil, and my daughter, she had her wisdom teeth pulled and we like started using every oil to see which would give her the best relief. And she was like, oh my goodness, like within minutes, basil completely curbed the pain. And so that's one of my go-tos when I do have any kind of discomfort, especially if it's very strong. And I'm a weenie when it comes to pain, total weenie. I can't handle any pain whatsoever. So if that tells you anything, it's amazing.
I didn't know that. And I've been dealing, you know, actually like this is the first time I've not had any pain in many years since I started using the Meta Power system. And I don't know if I had basil in my repertoire. Like I was just like doing anything I could, but I didn't know that. Hold on, let me let the dog in. Something interesting that also I was reading in the Living Your Yoga book was she was talking about when we experience painful events in our life, and then that translates into suffering. The layer of suffering from the pain is us not knowing how to process our life and our emotions around the events that are painful. So when we learn how to do that, like pick out what exactly you're feeling and be able to communicate your needs and work on like how we've been doing, that's what makes the painful things in life not so bad. And I thought that was so interesting to have somebody explain it that way, that you can't avoid pain, but you can avoid suffering. So, yeah. And then when I was going down my rabbit hole from the Living Your Yoga into that, what was the other one I said? The Road Less Traveled. He's saying that suffering he's saying that when you deal with suffering, that's when you know like that you're an adult and that you can deal with stuff. Like if you avoid going through the suffering and understanding, which most people do, which I definitely do, I procrastinate because I don't want to deal with the fact that I might fail. That's my neuroses of suffering. And I realized that this morning. I'm like, okay, so if I let that go, if I let that neurosis of belief system that I won't do it because I'm worried about failing. So that was why I was like, I gotta get my shoes on this morning. I don't usually put my shoes on until 2 o'clock. I thought I'd share that with you. It's just so interesting, those layers of avoiding suffering because we don't want to deal with it. And then we don't resolve the pain. So, and then, I don't know if that sparks anything for anyone as far as, as we're humans and dealing with things. Interesting. Yesterday, I was like, I need to figure out my allergy situation. And I went live on my Facebook group and I was looking in the book. I couldn't find allergies, but I looked up no's in the Essential Emotions book. And some of the adjectives of feelings, one of them was rejection. And that's the one my intuition picked up. And it led me to cinnamon and lavender and blue tansy. And, I can look up the statement for rejection if you like. But I've literally woke up and almost used like 20 tissues every morning for at least like 6 weeks. And I woke up and used one tissue today. It's like, that is so weird that my allergies was from rejection, feelings of rejection. So super interesting, like how that can lead to that, yeah, and I'm open for feedback. I just thought it was something that I would share with you guys. I feel full of passion this morning. I'm like, things are working. I have power. You guys have power. Like, it's just this understanding that if you can grasp it, Thoughts?
I think like too, what Maria said about changing your mindset is huge. Like when I hear somebody say like, well, I can't afford to do that. I think, well, if you ask the question, how can I afford to do that? Your brain starts to think of things that allow you to achieve whatever it is that you're achieving. But when you say immediately, I can't afford that, it stops your brain in its tracks and it doesn't even come up with ways. It just says, no, don't do that. And so I think like Maria, when she was saying, I just changed the way I think about it. And they say, the difference between millionaires and people who don't have millions are the way that they think. Really, that's the majority of it. And so just maybe asking your brain the right questions helps to open your brain up to possibilities instead of it stopping in its tracks and not thinking of anything at all.
I really like that. And you know what I feel like has made it possible, I think, for me to get to that place where I can start thinking that way? Like through my pain journey, as soon as I resolved the physical pain, it gave me like space to move through that block because I was in so much physical pain that I couldn't deal with a lot of my emotional pain. And so now I'm like, oh, this isn't the primary. I can work and think about this. And now as we're moving through like releasing the fear of dealing with suffering, then we can open our mind to more. And I think, not to be like, I'm like this major, like rah, like of doTERRA and like Tony Robbins. I'm like, people could move through their life if they just got on Meta Power. Like it changes everything. And then they're not stuck anymore. Like that's how I feel right now.
It's true. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I feel very passionate about it.
I mean, we've got like 30 people on my team. There's probably a few more that I don't know about that are doing it, but so far, all of them have had some significant changes. And like one of them said, oh my gosh, I'm not even doing it right. And I'm getting results. And I'm like, that's even better,
So smart. So I've got my emotional breakthrough worksheet here. Dina, would you like to go through this with me, or would someone else like to go through this with me? We've kind of already done like without even writing it down. We did Shannon with that, and then we, well, I guess that's it. And then I talked I got on my soapbox.
Can you share again what you were saying about suffering and pain? Like you were saying like there was a difference between those two. Could you say that again?
Yeah, let me share my screen so I can find that book for you guys, The Road Less Traveled. Share screen. One day I'm going to put something really ridiculous on my screen so that that's the first thing you guys see. Like, what? Elephants mating. What were you looking at, Kim? It's this one here. Okay, he's got a website. Good. Oh, okay. So did he write it only in the 90s, I guess? What's weird is when, like, I'm 35, but still if I think in my head 30 years ago, I think in the 70s. I'm like, oh, that was in the 70s. But I have to think a little harder. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 2022. So 30 years ago was like in the 90s. So apparently he wrote this in the 90s. Let's see here. But yeah, so the difference between pain and suffering being that we can't avoid pain because like our mother dies or, like our dog gets hit by a car or, things like our child, is suffering. Painful things will happen in our life, but suffering is where you can't process the event and it becomes an emotional issue. So for me, it's been the fear of suffering that was not allowing me to process my feelings around painful events in my life.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. But this guy, it looks like he's got like scuba diving adventures. I don't even know. I'm gonna have to look at this later. But I think I love him even more. There's that book, and then the other book was Living Your Yoga. And apparently she's got a daily meditation book too. Let's see if she's got a website. Maybe not, but it's this one. Can you guys see it? The one with the poppies? Yeah. Okay. So this one is definitely a keeper. That's a good one. You know how sometimes you open self-help books and they're like boring and then you're like, why did I spend $14 on that? I'm here to tell you that it was well spent. So yeah, basically. So yeah, I keep being blown away by when I forget to use my oils and things get hard in my life. And then I come back to using the oils and as using this fulcrum point, this tool that makes me feel safe to feel my feelings versus like without having tools like the power of essential oil and what it does in the brain and allowing for movement. Kind of like in the Bible, you know how there's the doubting Thomas, the story. So I have this singing bowl here and I'll play it in my pool when I have classes come over, like people come over. Let me put it on spotlight. So it's just this big Tibetan singing bowl thingy. And when I play it in the water, it makes like all these like ripples go. And then I'm like, remember, you're made of water. So like when you have sound that affects you or words that affect you, it's a vibration and it affects your whole body. So when you use the oil, it starts that process of, and when you say the words that release that storage locker of anger and hate or shame or whatever it is, it's going, we're using it to shift the energy. So I just think it's so cool. Accidentally hit it. Sorry. I can gong it for you. I just don't know if it's gonna translate over Zoom. I know there's a way to do it, like settings. Let me see. it sound good or is it like?
It's fine. I can hear it.
Okay. My gong teacher lady. She told me that I'm supposed to lay it on my belly every day and go up the front of my spine to work on like the energetic chakras, and I haven't been doing it. So I'm gonna start doing it. But I saw her recently at this Big Bear Yoga Festival I was at, and she did it on me on her massage table, and she looked at me and she was like, "You haven't been doing it." I'm like I know. Funny. Would anyone like to share?
Kim, I would. Sorry. I have a health coach that's a new author, and she had extreme Lyme disease. And she's written a book called There's a Deer at the Door and a Cow in the Mudroom, Learning to Live with Living with Lyme. And for anybody that has any kind of really really difficult disease and think they can't come out of it and get healthy, her book is really a testimony from coming from almost not living through it to success and becoming a coach afterwards. So that would be a book that I would recommend for somebody. And Dina, can you tell again what oils you used other than lemongrass and basil for pain?
Yes, so I used basil, lemongrass, turmeric, and I'm also like one of my second best for pain relief for me personally is Siberian fir. I can put a drop of that under my tongue and get relief, whether it's like a headache, back pain, whatever.
Okay.
And so like recovering from surgery, I didn't do any narcotics whatsoever. I mean, the doctor was like baffled at how I was up walking 4 hours after surgery. And I did 4 oils in a capsule every 30 minutes, whether I had pain or not, just to make sure that I didn't have it, because I didn't want it. Because like I said, I'm a weenie. I can't handle it. So
Wait, I missed it because I was typing. What'd you put in a capsule?
So I put lemongrass, basil, turmeric, and Siberian fir.
Okay.
But there's more that you can use. There's other oils that you can add copaiba. You can do, what were some of the other ones? Turmeric, copaiba. You're not going to do aroma touch in a capsule, but
Right.
but you can do that one topically or aromatically along
Okay.
with the capsule. So if it's like a lot of pain, like that's usually what I do.
Yeah.
And then I also will utilize those Boyd Truman spinals, the spinal techniques. So he has one specifically for pain and inflammation. If it's really something really bad, then I'll do that along with the capsule internally. So it's like you're targeting it all different ways.
Yeah, I'm still dealing with a concussion from September the 10th, and I was at a vendor event and my friend shut her car trunk on my head. And so it's caused nerve damage in my neck and down my spine and my arms and everything. So, I mean, I've been doing copaiba in a capsule, turmeric in a capsule, the deep blue polyphenols.
So try adding some juniper berry. Juniper berry is really good for concussions and brain stuff.
Okay.
And I got that from Dr. Sue Lawton.
Okay.
She has like a vagus nerve concoction. I'll find it and get it to Kim, and Kim can give it to you.
Okay.
There's a nerve soother blend that I like to use as well. It's 10 drops. So in a 10 ml roller, it is 10 drops of turmeric, 8 of lavender, 10 of marjoram, and 8 of frankincense. And you can add the juniper berry to that. So I'd add 10 of juniper berry.
I couldn't type that fast. 10 turmeric, 8 frank.
10 marjoram, 8 lavender, and then add 10 of the juniper berry. And that's a very, very good for nerves. You can also use Melissa oil if you have it. That's a really, really good nerve soother.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to get clients that they'd get if they've had shingles and
Mm.
wherever they had like the worst spot, it would always be the worst spot too. Like it'd be like right on their side where their pants sit. So then they're like, can't wear pants. Or like they'd get it on their sciatic nerve going down the back of their leg.
Horrible.
So, and what weirdly was eucalyptus
Mm.
would give them relief temporary, but I wonder that this blend might have been better.
Well, you could probably use both, you know, or add some eucalyptus to this blend. Like I said, you know, there's so many options, and the wonderful thing about oils is you can't get it wrong. You know, it's like, oh, well, hey, I got some relief from this, but let me add this to it, or let me try this, and oh, it's even better. Or, you know, oh, this gives me better relief. And then you just find what works best for your body, which is nice. But this is a really good blend for just nerve function, brain function, recovering from, you know, trauma type stuff. Frankincense, of course, is amazing in any blend.
Yeah, because even seeing a doctor in my area, there's a 2 to 3 month wait.
Oh, yeah. Well, by
So-
that time you'll be fully recovered.
Well, I said I'll either be cured or killed. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Jeez.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to be very conscious of though is that we're using the oils physically, but make sure that you're looking them up emotionally as you go along, and your recovery process is going to be much faster. So
Yeah,
that
'cause
it's a holistic.
there's definitely a lot of motion stuff going on too. So
Yeah, and I mean all it's going to do is make you a stronger person and
Mhm.
have a higher understanding of your character and your purpose. You know, it sucks that when crap things happen to us that it makes us better, but it's true.
I could write a whole book on that crap stuff.
I can't tell you how many people I've known that when I met them years ago, I thought that they were the worst person ever. And then they went through something really bad. And I meet them again. I'm like, you're tolerable now and quite enjoyable. What happened? Oh, well, I went through this. That's too bad. But now you're like a delight. Like,
That's funny.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the nicest thing to say to somebody when they're going through something. Well, you're probably going to be a lot better after. So, thank you guys so much for showing up and, you know, just like being really vulnerable and sharing what's going on in your life. And we're talking about what are these tools that we can keep sharing, and we can keep, you know, it's a community of our healing process. So thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Kim.
Kim.
Have a
Thank you,
good week.
Dita.
Yay. You guys have a good day.
You too.